I had the opportunity to buy a small mill of my own in the winter of '87, '88. It's red oak.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes from a tri-state area of West Virginia, actually a four-state area: West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. So it comes from probably like a 120-mile radius supply. This is logged conventionally with equipment. I do a little horse logging on the side, but it's not the main part of the enterprise. This was brought in with trucks and harvested with timber loggers or skidders, conventional skidders, which is a four-wheel drive machine with forestry tires on and cables or grapples that skid the timber from the tree, from the stump to the landing, where we load them onto trucks and deliver to the sawmill. So when the logs come in, individually like you see them there, and my responsibility is to measure and grade and put a value to each of the logs. By diameter and the health of a tree, the maturity of a tree, that determines whether a tree is harvested or whether it's not. Generally speaking, we like to have a tree that's at least 18 inches diameter at 4.5 feet tall. Chest height to be a decent merchantable tree. And I purchase logs off of vendors that are other than Eby Sawmill. Then Eby Sawmill also buys timber on the stump, which we have contractors cut for us. So we have our own stumpage purchases, and then we also buy logs off of other people who buy stumpage. So we need about 8 to 10 million feet a year to run the operation. Most of these come from naturally regenerated forests that may or may not be considered a tree farm.
But so like in the way of sustainability, like how sustainable do you guys consider yourselves?
Very sustainable, yeah. The fact is that with the timber management that's today, there's more acreage in forestation than there has been in the past 50 to 100 years.
In forestation or deforestation?
Forestation.
Forestation.
Forestation. Whereas you go back 100 years from now, there was very little emphasis put on sustainability of forestry. They thought it was an endless supply, and very little management was done in relation to that. And one of the things that makes it easier to manage it today is the equipment we have to work with today, versus years ago. Large tracts of timber were moved in on. It required a lot of manpower, horsepower, antiquated equipment power to do it, and most times it was clear cut, and there was no even, in clear cut, don't misunderstand me, there are places that clear cuts are a good decision. But a lot of times in those decisions there was very little management put even in the clear cuts, and there was unbroken acreages for distances that was clear cut, which is not good for those kind of things. But there's the amount of times where there's actually a true clear cut is seldom anymore. There's near clear cuts where they're what they call where a few trees per acre are left for regeneration purposes. My guess is that your average age of your tree is 70 to 80 years old. This is cherry, and this row here is red oak and black oak, which we process together as the same species. I mean, it's not necessarily the same species, but it's in the same species class. Black oak. This is red oak and black oak. This is a row of cherry. We have another row of cherry. Another row of red oak and black oak. Another row of red oak and black oak. And you have some ash and a small pile of hard maple there. Two larger piles of hard maple that are way over there. And there's a pile of hickory over there. So,
That's ash too, right?
This is another row of red oak and red oak and black oak. There you see some soft maple. Presently finishing up a run of walnut.
Black walnut or
black
white?
Walnut, yeah. What you see over here on the side is black walnut. This is soft maple to the left. Random landowners. I mean, there's no one like.
You could just like show up on people's property, basically.
Yeah, it's
people's
individual
farm?
contracts on private properties for the most part. There's a little bit of the supply is originated on state. None of it federal property that I know of.
Not that they're planning on developing or anything.
No. Yep. So this is black walnut there.
What is this thing right here? Have you seen what we saw?